Recording in progress.
Go ahead, Rob.
All right, welcome everybody. It's 7 o'clock, August 6th. I'd like to call the Planning Commissioner meeting to order. We get a determination of quorum, please.
Jim Barnes.
Here.
Michael Flick.
Here.
Linda Kennedy.
Here.
Kate Nelson.
Here.
Amy Owens.
Present.
And Rob Pierce.
I'm present.
Vice Chair Lazareski will not be in attendance tonight, for the record.
Okay, thank you. Katie, can you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, please? Thank you. We have the ethics law announcement, please.
I got John.
Jen Gustafson for the record. Commissioners are reminded that if with respect to any matter or any person coming before the commission today, number one, you have received a gift or loan. Number two, you have a pecuniary interest. Number three, you have a commitment in a private capacity, such as a family, employment, business, or similar relationship. Or number four, if you've provided representation or counseling before an agency to a person or entity for compensation within the last year on a matter that's being considered here tonight, please remember to disclose that gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation at the time the matter's being considered. And furthermore, please remember that you must abstain from deliberation or voting on the matter if it's clear that the gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation would materially affect the independence of judgment of a reasonable person. Commissioners are also reminded that under the Planning Commission rules, if you've had any contact outside this meeting with any persons interested in a matter coming before the commission today, you should disclose the nature of that contact at this meeting. I'm also going to go ahead and read the instructions for providing public comment. This meeting is being held in the County Commission chambers. It's also being held via Zoom. To attend the meeting via Zoom, you can log into the Zoom webinar on the link found on the agenda. You can also join the meeting by typing zoom.us into your computer browser, click Join a Meeting on the Zoom website, and enter meeting ID 842-7265-9406. You can also join the meeting via telephone by dialing 1-669-900-9128 and enter meeting ID 842-7265-9406 and press pound. For those wishing to provide public comment via Zoom, log into the Zoom webinar and utilize the raise hand feature during any public comment period. To provide public comment via telephone only, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Can we have the appeal procedure, please, Mr. Lloyd?
Yeah, most decisions rendered by the Planning Commission are appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. If you disagree with the decision of the Planning Commission and qualify as an aggrieved person or party, you may appeal in writing within 10 calendar days from the date that the decision being appealed is reduced to writing, filed with the Secretary of the Planning Commission, and mailed to the original applicant in the proceeding being appealed in accordance with Washoe County Code. Please call the planning staff immediately at 328-3610 for information on the appeal procedure and the application fee.
Wonderful, thank you. This time I'd like to open up public comment. Do we have any general public comment?
I have no general public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right. Then we'll close public comment and we'll move to approval of today's agenda. We have no changes or anything. If everybody's okay with it, can I get a motion to approve as accepted, please?
Commissioner Nelson will move to approve.
Okay, we have a second.
Linda Kennedy seconds.
All right. Oh, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. Motion passes. That puts us on to number 7, approval of the July 2nd draft minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at that? Do we have any changes or anything like that, or can I get a motion to accept?
Kennedy moves to accept the minutes as written.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, who is that?
Flick.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, thank you. Motion passes. That moves us on to item number 8, which is Regional Planning Commission alternate list. Mr. Lloyd, would you please explain that to us?
All right. Yeah, thank you. For this item, for review and possible action to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners set the order of alternates selected to represent the Washoe County Planning Commission on the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission. In the event the regularly appointed PC members are unavailable to serve. The existing Washoe County Planning Commissioners serving on the Regional Planning Commission are Michael Flick, Daniel Lazareschi, and Rob Pierce. The currently proposed order of alternates is as follows. First alternate, Linda Kennedy. Second alternate, Amy Owens. Third alternate, Jim Barnes. And fourth alternate, Kate Nelson. Once reviewed and a recommendation is made, the Planning Commission is asked to direct the Planning Commission Secretary to transmit the ordered list of recommended alternates to the Board for its decision. After the Board's decision, the Planning Commission Secretary shall transmit the ordered list to the Executive Director of the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency.
Thank you. Let's open up public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter?
I have no public comment in chambers, no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Is everybody okay with this? Does anybody want to have any changes, or can I get a motion? This is usually just a procedural thing. So if you guys are good with it, I'll accept a motion on it. There's a motion on the second page, or third page.
Somebody else make it. I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't hear him.
I believe, Linda, Commissioner Kennedy was making a
But
motion.
I don't know how to make it.
Oh, it's on page 3.
Yeah, there is a staff report. It's on page 3 of the staff report.
Yeah. Down at the bottom.
I can't. Thank you. I move to recommend the order of alternates to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission as follows. First alternative, Linda Kennedy. Second alternative, Amy Owens. Third alternative, Jim Barnes. Fourth alternative, Kate Nelson. I further move to direct the Planning Commission Secretary to transmit the recommended list of alternatives to the Washoe County Board of Commissioners for its approval.
Wonderful. And then I'll second it. And then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That moves us on to 8B. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce that?
Sure. This is the extension of time request for tentative subdivision map case number WTM 18002, Prado Ranch North, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an extension of time for the approval of the subdivision for 2 years from September 9th, 2024 until September 9th, 2026. The subdivision was originally approved by the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners on September 11th, 2018. The Planning Commission may grant an extension of not more than 2 years for the presentation of any final map after the 2-year period for presenting a successive final map has expired in accordance with NRS 278-360 sub 1C. Representing Washoe County in this matter is Planner Julie Olander. However, these are often heard as consent items where presentations are not typical.
But that's not on our agenda for today.
Okay, this is a 2-year extension. Would she like to give us a brief overview of it? Because it's already, this is the second one.
Good evening, Julie Olander for the record. So this is an extension of time for Prado Ranch North. Oops.
Is it turned on?
It was, I thought. Yes. There we go. As some of you might remember, it's out off of Lemon Valley Road, just the map sort of get you in the vicinity. And then this is sort of the extension of time requirements that are allowed for the PC to do through NRS. I don't know if I need to read all these to you, but there are NRS rules. And then we have the basically in our requirement, the SUP can be extended up to 2 years, as Trevor Lloyd explained.
Okay.
I can keep going. The tentative map was approved on September 11th, 2018. It was the final map was approved on September 9th, 2022 for 7 lots. And now they're coming in for an extension. They aren't ready to submit their next map, and they're asking for extension to September 9th, 2024. The approved subdivision is for 490 lots, and as I said, 7 have been recorded, so we're down to 483 lots remaining to be recorded. The applicant has indicated that they've been having some needs, some issues with Lemon Drive. There is a conversation going on between RTC, the City of Reno, and Washoe County about that drive, Lemon Drive, and the improvements along that. And so based upon that, they're asking for that extension to 2026. And I believe there's a motion in your staff report, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Would they like to make a presentation or anything, or request, or?
I don't believe there's anybody here from Lansing.
Okay, then we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter?
I have no public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Members, if you guys have any questions about this?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
6 years. We can't find a resolution to these things? Why?
Julie Olander for the record. So as I said, the Lemon Drive, the issues they've had out in Lemon, a lot of you are familiar with the flooding that's gone on out there, the improvements that they've proposed to make to Lemon Drive to accommodate the flooding has taken some time, and they've had to find funds for it. It's not inexpensive. It's one of our larger projects. So they had to move it up on the RTP, that's the Regional Transportation Plan, and made some adjustments. So I think they're at a point now that the roadway has been finalized, is my understanding, and so that they should be able to move forward with that improvement. However, they weren't able to move forward with the Prado Ranch until that was basically at this stage, the design stage. And I don't know if Trevor Lloyd wants to add to that too.
Yeah, if I could just provide maybe some background in terms of the process for tentative maps and final maps. I don't want to get into necessarily the specifics about Prado Ranch, but the nature of the statutory requirements grants 4 years from the approval of a tentative map to the first final map. The applicants, in fact, did that. They met that standard. And now they're coming in for a request for an additional 2 years, which is per statutory requirements, which is within their rights. They will need to the next final map before that 2 years expires September of 2026. They cannot get an additional extension after that, so they will have to final it. So This is very standard for
I understand
developers
that.
to request a 2-year extension after they've finalized their first final map. And that's kind of written into the state law for a number of reasons. Getting these, there are a number of criteria that have to be met in order for anybody to start building, essentially recording a map and then constructing. There's a number of issues, the infrastructure, water, sewer. They have to get all of these issues addressed
483
and
septic
resolved
systems.
before they can start construction. And oftentimes it takes a good deal of time. The financing always comes into play. And so that's the reason for the time frame established in statutory requirements.
I guess my only concern is that I understand the construction concerns, but the bureaucratic concerns are, I mean, this is bureaucracy at its finest. I mean, 6 years is a long time. And I don't know who's driving this thing, but I mean, it should be resolved one way or the other on the thing instead of just hanging out there. I understand what you're saying, it's statutory as far as we have to approve this. And I'm not bad-mouthing the development, it's just the process is broken.
Understand. Now, keep in mind that we have quite a few subdivision maps that have been alive for sometimes decades. Oftentimes, they're the larger ones. Woodland Village is a good example. They were approved for over 2,000 units, and it took them a good 18 years to complete all of those 2,000 units. Typically, the smaller subdivisions, they typically are developed out much quicker than the bigger ones. So this one falls right in the mid-range group.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
You can say whatever you want, Mr. Flick. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns? Not hearing any, I'll open it up for a motion. Can I get a motion, please?
Commissioner Nelson, I move that the Washoe County Planning Commission approve the 2-year extension of time request until September 9th, 2026 for tentative subdivision map case number WTM 18-002, Prado Ranch North, subject to the conditions of approval, having determined that the final map for TM 18-002 has progressed in accordance with NRS 278.360, that the original findings remain valid, and that the circumstances have not appreciably changed since the original approval.
All right, do we have a second?
Kennedy seconds the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, that moves us on to item number 9, abandonment case number WAB 23-0007 for Wolcast. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce it?
Yeah, will do. For hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an abandonment of a 15-foot drainage easement running roughly north-south on the eastern side of the property located at 5220 Cedarwood Drive and through the properties at 5210 Cedarwood Drive and 5235 Goldenrod Drive. Representing Washoe County in this matter is Senior Planner Chris Bronzik.
All right, Chris, floor is yours.
Chris Bronzik, Washoe County Planning. We're looking at WAB 23-7. This is the Wolgast drainage abandonment. So as mentioned, this is an abandonment of a 15-foot drainage easement running north-south through 3 properties along Cedarwood Drive and Goldenrod Drive. Attached is a vicinity map of those 3 properties. So the history of this drainage easement was in 1981. A map was recorded with this 15-foot drainage easement. It was related to parcel map 1271 and runs through pretty much the middle of the applicant's property. And so this was originally submitted in November of last year. With the initial review, we received comments from our health district as well as our engineering division that had concerns about abandoning drainage easement on one lot when it crossed multiple properties. So the applicant went back, worked with his neighbors to get them on board, submit the required documents to be part of this application. And so in June of this year, they resubmitted with that required information, and this abandonment now includes those 3 properties as one application. So before you is the primary applicant, Mr. Wolgast's property. The blue area is a existing 30-foot drainage easement. The yellow is the 15-foot drainage easement that was part of that 1981 original parcel map. That yellow highlighted easement is what is being subject to the abandonment today. As part of this submittal in June, the applicant did submit a hydrology report associated with the drainage easement. That report indicated that the 15-foot drainage easement is no longer being utilized, that the 30-foot drainage easement to the west is equipped to handle all the drainage and runoff necessary for this property as well as the other 2 properties associated with this abandonment. So this is another document that was provided. As you can see, the yellow line is that 15-foot drainage easement, and the red line is the center line of that 30-foot drainage easement. So it's just a redundant easement associated with these parcels. So all 3 parcels are currently developed. They all have single-family homes. The proposed abandonment is intended to allow the property owner to build a detached garage. The abutting property owners were noticed as part of this abandonment request. We received no emails or phone calls. Multiple agencies did review this application. The comments and their conditions are attached within Exhibit A and B of the staff report, and staff is able to make all required findings. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Wonderful, thank you. Is the applicant present? Would they like to make a presentation?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Just please state your name for the record and go for it.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Steve Wolgast. I want to thank you for considering my application. I especially want to extend my thanks to the county staff that have guided me through this process. I would have struggled without their help. Which is the next page? There we go. I just want to give a very brief overview. This property sits at the foot of the Steamboat Hills on the western slope. The home faces west, looking toward Montreux and Mount Rose. The lot is 1.27 acres, of which about 1 acre is level. The majority of the lot is not landscaped. The home is conventional construction, including 5 bedrooms with 2,700 square feet. It was permitted in 1994 and finished, I believe, in 1995. We purchased the home in 2016. It's the last one on a shared driveway with 2 neighbors to the north off Cedarwood Drive. The previous owner built a generous RV pad. We would like to build a standalone garage, roughly the same footprint as that pad. Sorry. The three properties in a row affected by this easement have nearly parallel drainage easements, as you've seen. One carries no flow. I refer to it as defunct. In 1981, the 15-foot easement was recorded basically at the foot of Steamboat Hills before the homes were built. It no longer carries storm runoff due to the later grading. In 1994, the existing drainage easement was superseded by a new 30-foot easement that reflected the grading for the three homes. The original defunct easement is still in the Washoe County records. The defunct easement is making it impossible for me to build a freestanding garage on the existing RV pad because the easement takes up space needed for a septic repair field, which was not required in 1994. In addition, the defunct easement crosses my original septic field, making the original septic field non-compliant with the county health requirements. The defunct easement may make my neighbor O'Donnell's original septic field non-compliant also. The defunct easement should have been abandoned when the new easement was defined. O'Donnell and Shepherd agreed to join my application. Here's the easement map. It's basically the same one Chris just showed. You see on the left side is the new 30-foot drainage easement. You can see my existing septic trench in blue, and then the drainage easement, the old defunct easement, in orange. Pictorially, the arrow shows looking north, runoff from the property, basically from the now Ascente development, would run down to the end of Cedarwood Drive. There's curbing where it enters. There's a break in the curb, and at that break, there's the beginning of a ditch shown by the green line, and that crosses the property 5,200, 2 doors up from mine. They're not part of this application. Interestingly, to me, just past this drainage ditch, there's a big storm drain with the curbing. I don't know where it leads or where it exits. The pale green line is of the drainage ditch, traverses the first property and empties into kind of a small collection pool that enters a culvert in blue. And that culvert traverses O'Donnell's property, empties into another pool where it intersects another culvert that carries the flow onto the O'Donnell stable, and from there across my property and onto Shepherd's property to the south. I want to note that our experience going back to the winter of 2016 is that we can see the erosion and occasionally the flow that follows the existing 30-foot easement. We really don't see flow on the 15-foot easement area. From my home looking north, the red line roughly shows where the old 15-foot easement traverses. It actually traverses across the graded slope, so making it kind of meaningless as a drainage path. Here's a survey I had done. You can see barely in the kind of cyan-colored lines, that's the newer 30-foot drainage easement. It's almost on top of the 30-foot water supply easement. We have city water. And then there's the angled 15-foot easement that actually goes almost to the corner of my neighbor's house, if I'm projecting it correctly. Here's just a blow-up. And the RV pad is this offshoot from the driveway, the kind of lower part of the T shape. And you can see that the 15-foot easement really uses up an awful lot of available property. The drainage easement recorded in 1981 across the 3 properties is defunct and serves no purpose. The defunct easement is problematic because it makes both the Wolgast and O'Donnell septic fields non-compliant. These septic fields were properly permitted when the homes were built. The defunct easement is problematic in that it inhibits my ability to build a freestanding garage on my property. It's an outdated vestige and should be abandoned by the county. Thank you very much for considering my application.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up public comment for this matter. Do we have any public comment?
I have no public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, and we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. Do we have any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll open it up for a motion. Do we have can somebody do a motion on this?
I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission approve abandonment case number WAB 23-0007 for Stephen Wolcast, with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 3 findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.806.20.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that? Mr. Glick?
Yes.
Is that you? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Congratulations. All right, so that moves us on to 9B, abandonment case number WAB 24-0005 for the, I apologize if I messed this up, the Surgett Family Living Trust abandonment. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce that?
Yes, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an abandonment of Washoe County's interest in 2 33-foot wide government patent easements for access and public utilities along the west and south property lines of 2100 Whites Creek Lane. Representing Washoe County in this matter is Planner Julie Olander.
All right, Julie, floor is yours.
Julie Olander for the record. As Manager Lloyd said, this is a request to approve an abandonment for 33-foot wide patent and easement along the west and south of this property. And the property is located out off of Arrow Creek. You can see on the left, it's highlighted in yellow, so to get a visual of where it's at. And then on the right is a closer view of the parcel. The applicant is asking for the request to abandon just the west and the south 33-foot wide easements, as these parcels were created by the U.S. government, and they put 33-foot wide easements around all 4 sides. At the time, they didn't know where the roads would be located, so that seemed the easiest way to deal with access to the property. This property has Whites Creek Lane along the northern easement, and so there is an access there, and then also Weiler Road is located on the eastern easement, and that provides access to parcels to the east and south. The 2 remaining easements are the west and the south that are not being used for access, and those are the 2 that the property owner is asking to have abandoned. Here's a map, the assessor's map showing where Whites Creek Lane is. The blue is where the parcel is, and then you see Weiler Road. It does intersect the one parcel 142-241-16, but the property owners have developed the road right along the east side of the parcel that's requesting the abandonment, and you can see where the easement is on this map. Here's another visual to show it a little bit better. The red is the areas that are not to be abandoned, and the yellow are the ones that will, the request is for to be abandoned. Abutting property owners were noticed. I didn't receive any emails, but I did receive several phone calls asking about the abandonment. Various agencies have reviewed the application, and their comments are included in Exhibit B, and then the conditions of approval, the agencies that had conditions are included in Exhibit A. Staff can make all the findings as explained in the staff report, and I do provide a motion. I'm not sure if the applicant's here or not, and wants to, I think they just wanted to be available for any questions, and I'm available for any questions also.
All right, thank you. If the applicant is present, would they like to make a presentation? Are they online?
They aren't present, and they aren't online.
Are they online?
They are not online.
Okay, okay.
I did speak to him, and I explained to him how the process worked, but maybe he just wasn't able to make it.
That's okay. That's all right. All right, at this time, let's open up public comment. Do we have any public comment?
I do not have any public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. Do we have any discussion on this matter? Okay, hearing none, I'll open it up for a motion. Do we have a motion?
I move that after given reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission approve abandonment case number WAB 24-0005 for Power Amalak Surgic Family Living Trust with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all three findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.806.20.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second. It's Flick.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, that brings us on to 9C, Master Plan Amendment Case Number WMPA 24-0003 and a regulatory zone amendment Case Number WRZA 24-0005 for York. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce that?
Yes, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to, one, adopt an amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan, Southwest Truckee Meadows Master Plan Land Use Map, to change the Master Plan Land Use designation for a 13.8 acre portion of a 14.5 acre parcel from rural to rural residential, and if approved, authorize the chair to sign a resolution to this effect. Any adoption by the Planning Commission is subject to approval by the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners and a finding of conformance with the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan by the regional planning authorities. And two, subject to final approval of the associated master plan amendment and a finding of conformance with the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan, recommend adoption of an amendment to the Southwest Truckee Meadows Regulatory Zone map to change the regulatory zoning for a 13.8 acre portion of a 14.5 acre parcel from general rural, which is GR 1 unit per 40 acres, to 7.1 acres of high-density rural, which is 1 unit per 2.5 acres, and 7.6 acres of open space. And if approved, authorize the chair to sign a resolution to this effect. Now, representing Washoe County once again is Planner Julie Olander.
All right, Julie, it's Julie Day. Julie, floor.
I'm Julie Olander for the record. So as Manager Lloyd explained, this is a master plan amendment and a zone change. I do want to point out there is a 0.72 acre portion of this parcel that's not being affected, and it's for the a 50-foot wide road easement for Bear Mountain. That will remain still master planned rural and will be zoned public, semi-public facility, PSP. So just keep in mind, that's the portion that's not being changed. The rest of the parcel is proposed to be changed. So just to get yourself oriented, the parcel is up off of Mayberry and then a plateau. It's up by Hunter Creek Canyon, and so that's where it's located. And here's a diagram of the master plan. On the left is the existing, which is rural, and then on the right is the proposed RR, which is rural residential. And then we have the request for the RZA, which is right now general rural. The whole parcel is, except for the roadway. And what they're proposing is the parcel, the orange is the HDR, high desert rural, and then the greenish color is OS, open space, and then the other portion down along Woodchuck is proposed to go to HDR. So they're splitting the HDR up between two sections with the OS in the middle, and you'll see in a few moments why. So as I said, this is a request for 95% of the parcel. That 1%, for that 0.72 is not being changed, and they're asking for the two areas of the parcel to go to HDR and one to go to OS. OS allows both R and RR. However, we are changing the parcel to RR. Also, just to remind you what the allowed densities on these parcels are, HDR allows 1 unit per 2.5 acres, and then the OS really doesn't allow any uses, no residential uses. However, there are a few uses that will be available, basically like utilities and things like that. And then parks are also found in OS. So there'll be those two areas of HDR, the one adjacent to Woodchuck, and then a 4.1 acre where there's an existing house currently located. The intent of this MPA RZA is to allow future residents on that portion, that northern portion, 3 acre portion along Woodchuck. And then the OS is where there's slope 15 to 30% slope. So they are proposing to leave that open and not to develop anything on it. And there's my list of what's allowed in OS. Commercial gardens, utility services, dog training service, and some agricultural uses. However, I'm going to show a slide showing you the slope, and it's pretty steep. So the red is 30% or more. So that's the challenging portion of this parcel. There's really very little they can do with it. So they're proposing to have it go to OS. And here's another map with slope percentage. And again, you can see the darker green is that 30%, and then the lighter green is 15 to 30. So there's quite a bit of slope on the parcel, and the surrounding parcels also have quite a bit of slope too. And then you can see up on that one portion there is the house is existing on that one portion of the parcel. The surrounding parcels some of them do have access to Truckee Meadows Water Authority water service. However, this parcel does not at this point. However, because they're adjacent to some parcel of the Tumwa service, it's possible that they will be able to connect to Tumwa service. However, at this point, we would say that the new parcel would go to have a domestic well and then also have to have septic. The parcel, the property owner could contact Tumwa and see if they would be willing to expand the Tumwa service area. However, that's something that would have to go on later in the process. And as I said, the existing house, there is an existing house there, and they're on septic, and then they also have a well. There was a neighborhood meeting on April 24th at Calling Club. There were 5 attendees. They had numerous questions, however, no specific concerns or issues. And then I have received quite a few phone calls from the neighboring properties, basically asking for an explanation of what's going on, where the HDR is going to be located and the OS is going to be located. The properties within 750 feet of the property were noticed. There was 44 notices that were sent out, and then a legal ad was also placed in the Reno Gazette-Journal. Various agencies were asked to review the application. I did not receive any recommendations of denial. And staff can make all the findings as explained in your staff report, and a possible motion is available in your staff report. And the applicant's representative is here and has a presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julie. If the applicant would like to make the presentation, please come forward, state your name for the record, and go for it.
Good evening, Mr. Barnes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. John Krompatik. I'm with KLS Planning. I'm representing Marilyn York, who's the applicant. Thank you for your time this evening. I'll be brief. A lot of this is redundant to the staff presentation as far as the mapping goes. I'm going to skip that slide. In summary, though, I think that last bullet point is what it's really all about. We're doing the master plan amendment, the zoning with hope of an eventual parcel map to create the one parcel that's adjacent to the road. This one, you can see I'm toggling to show you the lines that are being created. So there's the 15.6 acre parcel. There's the break of it with the vision being implemented. Just share this with the commission. It's important in terms of public outreach and the process we have in the neighborhood hub process now. There's the noticing that was created by staff with, a map that covers their noticing area, 34 notices sent out. Existing zoning GR, proposed HDR on the existing 4 acre parcel and the eventual 3 acre parcel with the open spaces noted by staff. Similarly, exact same lines on the master plan. There's the existing all in rural, the rural residential with the existing parcel being shown in the eventual parcel. We share this with you just to show compliance. In the Southeast Truckee Meadows area plan, one of the things is to be very much conforming with the existing lot sizes and densities in the area. It varies by area plan. So in this case, we just show a collection of lots in all directions around, and you can see that it's very similar in lot size at 3 acres, and there's some that go actually down to 1 acre in the vicinity. This is the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan map. Staff showed it as well. It's important in the topographic analysis, development constraints map. We must show compliance with the regional plan in addition to the local policy, as you all know, and the zoning code and development code. And, basically we have a couple opportunities on the new lot that are suitable for the development is what we're showing here. The yucky green is the 30% slope area. The slope map zoomed a bit. You can see there's 2 areas where we could put the siting of a building envelope. Mr. York, Marilyn York's father, and he's an engineer by way of his career and training, and been very detailed in the siting of that, both with regard to view protection for surrounding properties, sitting low on this property, and also trying to maximize separation between this eventual lot, eventual siting of a building envelope, and the surroundings. And then, of course, the toward the back, the south end, the 4 acre existing residence. There's a map by the surveyor. This is really kind of the top tier of accurate information and the only qualified person to talk about the actual detailed acreages, and it shows 3, 4 acres and 6.7 of the open space. That's it. I thought staff did. We didn't touch on policy. I'm not compelled to talk on it, but I do think it was important in the master plan and zoning process to note that, staff had policy analysis in the Southeast Area Truckee Meadows Plan, population and housing land use principles, the vision statement, and conservation and natural resources policies, all of which have been advanced with the application as presented. All of that's in the staff report. Thank you all for your time, and I'm here for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Great presentation. At this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one public comment in chambers. I have Wayne Baker. If you could please come to the podium and state your first and last name.
Good evening, Commissioners. Wayne Baker. I've been a Reno resident for 55, 56 years. I lived on Plateau Road for 35 years. I did have a lot more comments to make after hearing the presentations I've heard. I have mainly a couple of questions. And am I allowed to address them directly, or should I ask you, or how do we want to do this?
You can ask the questions to us, but we are not obligated to answer. Then you
Okay.
may go sit by the planner. You can talk to him personally if you want.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the planners can answer this. Is there, I had noticed that this was scheduled to build one additional house on 3 acres. Is there any allowance to build any additional houses on the rest of that parcel?
Okay, we can't answer your question for you,
Okay.
but
I mean, this is I've lived there before Collin Ranch was developed, before Juniper Ridge was developed. And particularly when Juniper Ridge was developed, the road passing past my driveway became a racetrack because it's the route to Interstate 80. I'm concerned that we start lowering the density, and what does that open the door to? I don't want another 100 trips a day of race cars, construction trucks, and that kind of thing past my driveway. If this is about one house on 3 acres, I really don't have any objection, no comments. There's lots of single home parcels up there that are that size. If the ultimate plan is to narrow this down to where we're completely out of place for that neighborhood, when we moved there for the lack of density. I mean, all those lots are minimum 1 to 2.5 acre lots. And again, I just don't want to ruin that quality of life that we've had for years if this ends up getting built out with a lot more than one house on 3 acres. At any point, can lots be smaller than 2.5 acres on this proposal? Can they be further divided down from that? And those are the kind of questions that really stick in my mind because it impacts me a lot. I mean, my mom is right at the bottom of Woodchuck Court where all that traffic is going to dump onto Plateau, and then they turn left to go to the freeway past my house. So there's an impact on us who've lived there, 35 years or more. My mom's lived there longer than I have. And I just like some assurance that we don't get a big increase in density, construction trucks, noise. Sounds carry really well out there. I mean, you can hear somebody 100 yards away like they're next to you, so I don't need all that noise. Again, the construction traffic, all the flat tires from construction debris, and I'm related to the construction industry too, so I know what I'm talking about here. I guess that's the assurances I'm looking for, and if we can get those, I really have no other objections.
all right, thank you. You're welcome to talk with the planner or John,
Okay.
if you
I
want.
worked with John a few times on projects. I'm an engineer too, just a different kind, so.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
Thank you. Yes, we do have one further public comment in chambers. I have Sandra Decker Stevens. If you could please state your first and last name for the record.
Just speak right in, say your name and speak into them.
Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Sandra Desher Stevens, and my husband and I purchased a home on Bear Mountain Place last year. At the time, we were aware that it was a large parcel, 4-parcel property. And it has a private gate and a private road. It's very quiet. There's lots of animals. And it's very peaceful, and we like it there. And we would like for it to remain the same that it's been for 22 years. These parcels were originally sold as large parcels, and it's our understanding that it was to remain that way. We were never advised that a question had been put forward to divide it up, which I guess happened many years ago, seven years ago, something like that. I've just found this out. And the request was denied at that time. I was also never, I just noticed there was a meeting. I never received any invitation to that meeting. I did receive one in April for April 3rd to be held here, but it was canceled. And so I received the new notice for this meeting, and here we are. We are directly adjacent to Parcel B. We own Parcel C and Parcel D, which is a vacant lot, which was purchased from the original owner. These parcels have not changed hands. And it's just a very special place. Unique with the juniper forest, which these places are diminishing rapidly in our area. The entrance to the gated road would be very close to the driveway, and it's on a slight curve off of Woodchuck and would create a hazard for cars cresting the hill. There is a development past us. It's not big at this time, but they come over that crest and come down the hill, and there's skid marks, which would be right at the
I'm sorry,
joint of-
your time is up.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do we have any other public comment?
I am opposed.
I have no more public comment in chambers. He's already spoken, though, hasn't he? Yeah. You can speak again on item, I believe it's what, 13? 12? General public comment? But you can't, you've already spoken this, your public comment, had your 3 minutes for this session. Yes. But is that correct? Okay, there is one hand raised on Zoom. Bob Berry, please unmute and state your first and last for the record, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, how much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. My name is Bob Berry. I'm also an owner up at Bear Mountain. Sandy, who just spoke, is the other member, landowner up there. I think that an environmental impact study should at the very least be done because it's a very unique, lush microclimate up there, and it's very heavily wooded with juniper trees. And it's probably, if not the only, maybe the only area in Reno that has this unique natural landscaping. And it's a home to many wildlife, such as deer, coyotes, bears, and other wildlife that live up in the area. And I do feel that there will be a significant negative impact to the vital habitat for many of the wildlife in that area if it's allowed to be developed. Secondly, the parcel that I think Mr. York wants to develop is on the north end of the lot, and it's surrounded by 3 roads on the east, north, and west side of the property. And on all 4 sides, there's very steep terrain. There's a retaining wall that is just above the property that they would probably build on, and it's a very small building envelope. And in their request, they said that they were going to voluntarily limit the grading and minimize building envelope. And more than likely, anyone that would to build there would build a very big house. And I just don't think that they can do that without creating significant disruption to the topography in the area. And I think there's going to be problems with water drainage and erosion. And right across the street, there is the Steamboat Ditch Trail, and there's an outlook point there across the street that a lot of people park. And so there'd be significant congestion in that area since there's very limited parking there. And it would also, as Sandy mentioned, there would be congestion going up the road to Thompson Trailhead. So, and as he mentioned, this was a rural development, and it's always been designed to be a rural development, and it's not suited for subdividing just because of the topography. It's on a steep hill, and it's very lush, and a lot of uh, um, uh, natural habitat is there, and I just don't believe that it's suited for high density development. So I think would negatively impact the ecologically sensitive landscape in that area. So I think it should be preserved and left alone. That's my comment.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I have no further public comment in chambers nor online on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. Questions from staff? Do we have any questions for anybody?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Whoever was,
Just trying to find out exactly how steep that is. What are the contour intervals? There, I don't see any numbers that tell me what the interval are or what the elevation is.
Yeah, I'll have the applicant answer these questions. Thanks.
Thank you, John Krompatek, KLS Planning, representing the applicant. Could we go to the
I'm referring to the
slope map?
slope map.
That's the red, green, yellow map, color-coded.
Yeah, this one?
Yeah, the one that I had was zoomed a fair
I
amount.
don't know if they're 20 feet or what.
No, they're, the individual ones are 2 feet. The bolder ones are 10 feet. But to answer Mr. Berry's question, we have done, we all got to respect the process. We're trying to create real estate value here. We're trying to do the best job we can with siting of obviously with a house footprint in one of the two areas that are entirely suitable with very minimal, I can say this with the highest level of confidence, very minimal disturbance. There's a driveway that would come off of the road that was described by a couple of the people who testified, and there's a driveway where you could walk up there. We could take a field trip if it ever interests you, and you say, wow, this is already basically cut in place, and you can imagine a footprint of a house off that big green blob at the bottom of the hill on the left side. That would be one. The other one is right there by the angle point of that road where it does a 90 there. Another development-friendly place. And then to answer Commissioner Flick's question, you look at the boulder contour lines, that's 10 feet between. So there's not a lot of grade change between where the siting of the envelope would be and the roadway elevation. Obviously, that takes into account a future section of Development Code, Article 438, or Article 436, the grading part is Article 438. The red, Mr. Baker, if he's still here, he wanted some assurance because he asked the commission. I said, I've got permission from Maryland, York to say this is it. We're creating the one lot if successfully zoned, master planned, and an eventual parcel map, the 3.0 acre lot. The 6.7 of open space is intentional to remain in open space. And that's it. It's all red on the map. It would be hard for anybody to come to this podium as a professional and say no big deal. I don't know there's anything in the Development Code. I've dealt with it for many, many years, and there's no way to cite a house on there with our Development Code as constrained as it is today. So I hope that answers the questions of the people that are not fond of the proposal, and then Mr. Baker's as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're there, I have a question.
Please.
I want to clarify. If we do nothing, one house could be built on this property, correct? The way it is today?
No, we need this. This is for one house.
No, today we could build one house on this property, correct?
That is correct. I'm sorry, when you said build, I thought you meant one more. There's one house existing.
Right now, we could build one house on this property.
That is correct.
If we approve this, the most you can build is 2 houses.
Right,
Is that correct?
On the 15.6, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have one more question of staff. when you say commercial, what does that entail? I mean, does it entail a complete commercial zone? I don't know how they do it, but, I mean, you can't build storage units or a car wash up there or what have you. I wouldn't think. But I would hate to have somebody sneak something like that in.
Right, understood. Through the chair, to answer Commissioner Flick's question, what is being proposed are residential zoning categories. The rural residential and which is the master plan category, and the regulatory zone category that is being proposed is high-density rural, which is also, it's a rural residential category. There is no proposal for commercial. So what the applicants would be restricted to are residences on this property.
And in the OS, the same thing, right? Well, when you say the OS, you say.
Oh,
it's
the OS,
open.
nothing can be built. That's open space. That has to
True.
remain as is, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Hearing none, is there any discussion among the board members you guys would like to take? If you have any, I can't hear you. So I'm going to call for a motion. Has somebody got a motion?
Commissioner Nelson, I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission adopt the resolution contained in Attachment A of this staff report to amend the master plan as set forth in Master Plan Amendment Case Number WPA 24-0003, having made the following 5 findings in accordance with the Washoe County Code Section 110.820.15, Parent D. I further move to certify the resolution and the proposed master plan amendments in WPA 24-003 as set forth in the staff report for submission to the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners, and authorize the chair to sign the resolution on behalf of the Planning Commission. I further move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Planning Commission adopt the resolution included as Attachment B, recommending adoption of the regulatory zone amendment case number WRZA 24-0005, having made all the findings set forth in the Washoe County Code Section 110.821.15. I further move to certify the resolution and the proposed regulatory zone amendment in WRZA 24-0005 as set forth in the staff report for submission to the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners, and authorize the chair to sign the resolution on behalf of the Washoe County Planning Commission.
All right, is everybody okay with both of these motions being combined into one, or do you want them separated? Okay, not hearing
Okay
any.
with-
Go ahead, sorry, Linda.
Okay.
Well, you're okay with it. Okay, so we've got a motion for both of these at one time, so we're going to accept them both at one time. Do we have a second for both of them?
Second.
All right, Mr. Flick seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, both motions passed. Thank you. All right, that moves us on to 9D, which is the master plan amendment case number WMPA 24-0002 and the regulatory zone amendment case number WRZA 24-0002 for Lockwood. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce?
Will do. For hearing, discussion, and possible action to, 1, adopt an amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan, the Truckee Canyon Master Plan Land Use Map, to change the Master Plan Land Use designation on a 5.6 acre parcel from rural to 3.45 acres of industrial and 2.2 acres of open space. And 2, to recommend adoption of an amendment to the Truckee Canyon Regulatory Zone map to change the regulatory zone on the same parcel from general rural to 3.45 acres of industrial and 2.2 acres open space. The regulatory zone amendment is subject to final approval by the Board of County Commissioners of the Associated Master Plan Amendment and a finding of conformance with the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan by the regional planning authorities. And three, if approved, authorize the chair to sign resolutions to this effect. And representing Washoe County in this matter is Planner Tim Evans.
All right, Tim, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Evans, planner. So the case before you today is Master Plan Amendment, case number WMPA 24-002, and Regulatory Zone Amendment, case number WRZA 24-002 for a parcel located in Lockwood. So the subject parcel is located at 10705 Lockwood Drive, and it has APN 084-08015. So to give some background on this parcel, the parcel itself is 5.65 acres, and the parcels surrounding it include to the south. As you can see there on the right side of the screen, there's a vicinity map. So directly to the south of that parcel there's residential, and over that residential subdivision is located within Story County. So I want to make that clear that the river's kind of right there. You can see like a somewhat dark line, and then the highlighted parcel right above it. And then directly to the south of that is Story County. So on the Story County side, there's a residential subdivision as well as some industrial complexes nearby. And then to the north of that parcel, it is zoned general rural, and there's a highway as well as a railroad crossing or railroad track and line. And then directly to the west, there's a parcel that is zoned PR, or like parks and recreation, that type of open space zoning. And so this parcel is located in the Truckee Canyon planning area, and it is zoned general rural. So the request before you is for a master plan land use designation on the 5.65 acre parcel mentioned earlier, to change it from rural to 3.545 acres of industrial and 2.20 acres of open space, and to amend the regulatory zone from general rural to 3.45 acres of industrial and 2.20 acres of open space. So on the screen to the left, as mentioned earlier, this parcel is near the boundary between Washoe County and Story County. So on the left, you'll see the existing zoning for that subject parcel, which is GR, as well as to the north there across the highway. It's also zoned general rural as well. And then, as mentioned earlier, the parcel to the west, or on the left side of that screen, is zoned Parks and Recreation, which is more of like an open space kind of type zoning. And then on the right side of the screen there, it shows this is a screenshot from Story County's zoning maps. So you can see that blue area there is the residential subdivision, and it's zoned residential. And then the darker gray areas, those are the industrial complexes that I mentioned earlier, and those areas are zoned industrial. So here's the proposed amendment, master plan amendment and regulatory zone amendment. So the area that you see there that is in like that yellowish color is proposed to be open space. And then the area that's just clear, or there is no color, it's brownish colored, just dirt colored, is industrial. And so to give some background on the constraints on this parcel. So the floodplain, there is a floodplain on this parcel, specifically the Zone AE Special Flood Hazard Area. And as it's contiguous to the Truckee River, therefore there's that Zone AE Special Flood Hazard Area. And to mitigate or to address that Zone AE Special Flood Hazard Area, staff recommended to the applicant that they apply the open space zoning in there, as Washoe County Code Section 110.416.70 prohibits development within the floodway. And so the Zone AE Special Flood Hazard Area is considered the floodway, and no development would be allowed in there. So having that open space zoning just adds another layer and helps to ensure that no development occur in that area there. So in relation to the Truckee River, there are portions of county code that speak directly to this. In Article 22, the Truckee Canyon Area Plan. So to specifically state the purpose, it's the purpose of this section, Article 222, Truckee River Corridor Standards is to establish regulations to develop, preserve, protect, and improve the inherent water quality of the river. Now, going down farther in that same article is Washoe County Code Section 110.222-10B and C. So specifically, Section B speaks to grading, and that there is from the center line of the Truckee River, there is a setback of 300 feet, or a distance from 300 feet from the center line of the river out, that in that area there, a special use permit is required for grading. So it's just another constraint, and to have a special use permit there is to ensure that environmental issues or things like that can be addressed and looked at in a discretionary manner. And further on subsection C, there's a structural setback. So like mentioned earlier with the open space zoning and the zone AE, this is another layer, so to speak, that there's a structural setback from the center line of the river, that no structures are allowed in there. And I want to make it completely open and clear that this section specifically does not state anything in relation to like parking areas or driveways or anything like that. It's specific to structures. Therefore, it's staff's opinion that the industrial regulatory zone, which a portion of that regulatory zone, the industrial regulatory zone, would be proposed within this 300-foot setback. It is staff's opinion that the industrial regulatory zone and uses within that established 300-foot buffer area along the Truckee River conflicts with the stated purpose of Article 22 that is at the top of the screen. So continuing on with some additional information in relation to the Truckee River, there is a plan specifically called the One Truckee River Management Plan. This plan was developed between multiple public and private agencies and partners and things like that. And specifically, the purpose of this is to help enhance and promote the protection of the Truckee River. So specifically looking in this One Truckee River Management Plan, there is an objective, and specifically I have it highlighted there that the objective of this plan, or at least one of the objectives, is in relation to common pollutants include oil and grease from roadways, pesticides from lawns, and sediment from construction sites. So talking about what I did earlier in relation to the parking areas and that 300-foot setback, not specifically prohibiting any parking areas. So the industrial zoning allows those intense uses with a parking area. But being that there's this development constraint there to help protect and fall in line and promote this objective, it doesn't necessarily do that, so to speak, which is not in conformance with the master plan policy, NCR policy 4.5, in staff's opinion. Actually, going back to this slide, so one more thing to elaborate on with this is that this plan here is referenced in our master plan, and so this plan isn't necessarily specific to one agency enforcing it, making sure that everything goes in line with this plan. It's actually multiple different entities that oversee it, one being Washoe County and two others being the City of Reno and the City of Sparks. So all the local agencies are responsible for this One Truckee River Management Plan. So in relation to the availability of facilities, so specifically in relation to access, the project was sent to engineering for review, and they had no concerns for traffic or roadways, and they recommended approval. And so power is provided by NV Energy. And then the project was also sent for review to the Nevada Division of Water Resources, and they stated that the parcel has no water rights, and the parcel is located within the Truckee Meadows Water Authority. or in service area. So there is a potential possibly that the applicant could reach out to Tumwa and obtain a will-serve letter, as well as obtain water rights and things like that to actually have that parcel served by Tumwa as opposed to a well in this case. So the project was also sent to the Washoe County Health District for review, and their comment was in relation to if any development was to occur on this parcel, that a commercial well and septic would be required. And so lastly, structural fire protection is provided by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. And so as mentioned, the project was sent out for review to multiple agencies, specifically 16 agencies received the project information for review, and 10 agencies responded. Some of those I mentioned earlier in the last slide, and all of their comments are included in Exhibit A of the staff report. So this project was noticed to neighboring residents. Specifically, 130 parcels were noticed, and that included both Washoe County and Story County. And due to the noticing, 2 public comments were received. One of them was just a general inquiry from the Canyon General Improvement District, which is over in Story County. They just wanted more of some background information recently in relation to if the applicant has looked at obtaining any the well and septic and move forward with anything like that, and that there could potentially, possibly, if they expanded their boundaries, that they may be able to serve that parcel, but that's just something that they threw out there as a potential possibility. And so the other public comment that was received was from the Story County manager, specifically in relation to concerns that they had that Story County has in relation to this property being zoned industrial. And both of those comments were, the Story County comment is in the staff report itself, and then the other comment that I just mentioned from the General Improvement District was emailed to all of you earlier today. So a neighborhood meeting was held for this project on December 28th, 2023 at 5:30, and there were 6 members of the public in attendance. And so some of the concerns in relation to the project from the public was in relation to notices, not being sent to all 500 homes on Rainbow Bend in Story County. So the consultant's response during that neighborhood meeting was that all of the notices were sent to 130 neighboring property owners within a 750-foot radius in compliance with Washoe County Code. And so the second comment or concern from the public was that the leach field could encroach into underground flow water table of the Truckee River. And so the applicant responded in relation to that any development on this parcel would be located outside the Zone AE Special Flood Hazard Area. And the third concern from the public was Canyonway may not be capable of handling the increased traffic load. So the applicant, in response, stated that they'd be willing to meet with any agencies necessary, Washoe County Engineering or others in Story County, as necessary to address any potential traffic impacts. And so the last concern from the public was in relation to noise and light levels. And in response, the consultant and applicant stated they would be willing to put up landscape screening and things like that to help mitigate any light or noise issues. So, in relation to the master plan amendment findings, staff is not going to be making a recommendation on this project itself, but staff would like to point out to the commission that there is a potential that it may be difficult to make findings number 1 and number 5 based on the information submitted by the applicant and all the information within the staff report from staff, and that there is a possibility that findings 2, 3, and 4 possibly may be made by the Planning Commission in relation to the information in the staff report. And so like that of the master plan amendment findings, staff believes that there will be difficulty potentially for the Planning Commission to make findings 1, 5, and 6. and that based on the information in the staff report, as well as that there may be a possibility in making findings 2, 3, and 4, based on the information in the staff report. So as mentioned earlier, staff is not making a recommendation on the master plan amendment, specifically case number WMPA 24-002, and regulatory zone amendment case number WRZA 24-002. And staff has included possible motions of both approval and denial for the Planning Commission within the staff report. And I'm available for any questions, and the applicant has a presentation as well.
All right, thank you, Tim. If the applicant would like to make their presentation, they're more than welcome to. Just please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Devin Perry. I'm with Phelps Engineering, representing the applicant of Lockwood Development Group, LLC. Tim graciously sort of outlined what our presentation states, so I'm going to jump through this a little bit quicker. Our project area is located to the east of Canyon Way in Lockwood, north of the Truckee River, as you can see in the project map. I'd like to talk a little bit about the site history. So the site used to be, well, back in 1994, as you can see, is in very similar condition as it is today. On the west side of the Canyon Way Highway, or the road, there used to be I believe, a mobile home park which experienced flooding in the past. In 2007, the parcel underwent a master plan amendment by the Truckee River Restoration Project to change the zoning from general rural or general commercial to rural. And this is a photo from 2006, sort of depicting what the condition looked like at the time. And upon project completion, you can see the parcel on the right side of Canyon Way is nearly identical to what it was back in 2007. Although on the west side of Canyon Way, you can see the improvements that were made for the Truckee River Restoration Project. So just wanted to mention that our parcel has experienced little impact and has actually, theoretically experienced degradation to the site with scarified soil. You can see a lot of tracked road tracks, which just exhibits really non-use of the parcel. This slide exhibits the surrounding zone designations, both within Washoe County and Story County, as Tim mentioned before. You can see to the south of our parcel, as Tim mentioned, Story County has zoned light industrial and heavy industrial. To the southeast in Story County, there is also light industrial and heavy industrial. And then about 2,000 feet to the east in Washoe County are the large industrial complexes, both zoned industrial. And I'd like to note that both of these zoning classifications for parcel 084-37006 and 084-37007 both extend, the zoning extends past that 300-foot development line, and the zoning actually is depicted within the Truckee River. So there is significant industrial zoning in the vicinity area. Once again, we've seen this slide before, but we are proposing a split zone of industrial for 3.45 acres and open space for 2.2 acres. The open space would serve as a buffer for the river and a buffer for development in the future. This slide depicts the 300-foot setback from the center line of the Truckee River. So no building or structure could be developed south of that 300-foot line. So our project is really limited to building north of the 300-foot setback line. Wanted to just touch on aspects that we feel are consistent with the 2040 master plan. One is the vision statement, which says the community looks to the future through a lens of conservation to provide longevity for the beauty and health of the community by thoughtful development that complements the land and serves its people. We believe that the proposed amendment has thoroughly considered the beauty and health of the community through thoughtful development. The open space buffer ensures no development within the flood zone, and design standards have been taken into account, which will be abided by in the future. The second one would be Regional Form and Coordination Principle 2.4, promote new industrial land and zoning where services are available or can be provided in accordance with the regional plan. This proposed amendment allows for new industrial uses in an area where services can be provided. The third one would be Land Use Principle 4.1, to encourage design of industrial, commercial, and multifamily uses to contribute to the community's sense of place rather than detract from it. We believe that the proposed amendment would establish industrial zoning and uses and would further contribute to the community's sense of place in a property that has been largely abandoned, degraded, and unused for over 30 years. The fourth would be Conservation of Natural and Cultural Resources Principle 3.1, which states to protect key wildlife and fishery habitats, habitats of threatened, endangered, or rare species, key migration routes in areas of important or for scientific study. The 2.2 acre open space designation along the flood hazard area protects wildlife and fishery habitats, and no habitats or threatened, endangered, rare species, migration routes, and important scientific study areas were identified in the required biological resource screening report that was required from planning staff. And the fifth would be the Conservation of Natural and Cultural Resources Principle 4.2, which states to buffer water bodies, seeps, springs, playas, wetlands, and riparian areas from development. And once again, the 2.2 acre open space designation buffers the water bodies, wetlands, and riparian areas from development. The second to last slide pretty much just states the required 5 findings for the master plan amendment. One would be the consistency with the master plan, which is those items that I just mentioned. 2 would be the compatible land uses, which staff has identified does not conflict with land uses in the area, as well as how we have identified the surrounding industrial land uses as well. 3 would be responses to change conditions. We believe the amendment provides an opportunity for development within the region and responds to the warehousing and distribution trends that are occurring in the surrounding areas. The 4th would be the availability of facilities. Once again, agencies were contacted and no comments were received in opposition. And then the 5th would be the desired pattern of growth, to promote the desired pattern of growth by allowing industrial use on a portion of the subject parcel while restricting development in the dedicated open space designations. And then the last slide would be the findings for the regulatory zone amendment. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th are pretty much what I just stated in the past. The 5th one, which is the light brown, would be to experience no adverse impacts. And we believe that the proposed amendment would not adversely impact the implementation of the policies and action programs of the Washoe County Master Plan, as we would be abiding by all development standards set forth for building. And with that said, I'd like to defer the rest of my time to the applicant, J.S. Parker, if he would like to speak on our behalf. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I'm J.S. Parker, the applicant for the property. We purchased this property about 1.5 years ago and started working with the county with regards to what we could do with regards to development. And as you can see, it's been around a long time. It's been constrained by a lot of things, including the Truckee River, and including the exits and the entrances and all that kind of stuff. And then you got Story County. So it's literally the last parcel before you go into Story County. So we bought it with the intent to develop it. We didn't know what we were up against until we started doing a lot of research with regards to the Truckee River and found the Truckee River plan restricted our building envelope to 300 feet away from the center line of the Truckee River. So, and it doesn't matter whether we're building a residential property, a commercial property, an industrial property, the same restraints on this property are exactly the same. So the utility constraints, the drainage constraints, the river access constraints, the floodplain constraints, all remain the same no matter what we do with the property. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, but general rule allows a lot of intense uses that industrial uses. Like, for instance, general rule and industrial have the same S2 requirements, special use permit requirements, for mining operations, petroleum gas extraction, non-renewable and renewable energy production, and general rule allows for animal slaughtering. We're not proposing any of those things. We went to industrial because it allowed for a light industrial warehouse use that general rule didn't allow. We looked at residential. We couldn't do any residential because the building envelope is too small to build anything on it. So the building structure envelope would only allow us to build a very small portion of industrial warehouse, kind of light industrial use, and then the rest of the property is literally a parking lot for all intents and purposes because you can't build past that 300-foot line. So we felt it was very compatible. We went to the county. We had 2 open agency meetings, open air agency meetings with all the county people. They all agreed that this was a great use for the property. Staff has been great to work with in reviewing our plans all along. We've spent a year working with staff on this proposal. We were encouraged to go ahead and submit for the application for the MPA and the RZA zone applications in January, which we did. We paid the fees, and then upon a surprise kind of attack after we submitted everything for this, we got a call saying that you're going to be denied approval because there was a spot zoning issue that came up, and then there was the concerns that were addressed today, which, well, maybe utilities are an issue, maybe drainage is going to be an issue. You can't, we think industrial intense uses on the property might be a concern, but the intense use of the property doesn't matter what the zoning is. You can use intense uses no matter what the zoning is. So our intention is not to do that. Our intention is to try and build something that will be useful to the community and provide jobs and be profitable to us as the development group, right? So we thought it was the best of all worlds. We had support from staff. Last week, we found out that the staff is now recommending no recommendation for approval or denial, which was great because I thought I was going to have to get up and ask for you to, overturn a denial recommendation. But I believe, as Devin, our engineer, stated, we've done a lot of research in the area. We did a biological study. We've done a lot of studies on the property. And of course, we're up against the railroad, which is directly to the north, and the freeway. So again, residential doesn't make sense for that reason as well, right? And Story County said, hey, if you come into our county, we'll take you into our county. But they wanted residential. And I said, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you got industrial on every side of us. Yes, there is that one residential subdivision in Story County, but clearly right on that same road is industrial for them, and it's an industrial for us, and we're contiguous to industrial to the east. So we felt like that was just the best fit for everybody, the county, for us, and for the community at a whole. And it's the least amount of traffic. Right now, under general rule, I can do the same. I could build a service station there. I could do that in industrial. I can do that in general rule. The things I can't do, I couldn't do a restaurant under general rule. I could do that under industrial, actually. But that's not our plan. Our plan is right now, our concept, and again, I don't know what it'll ultimately be, but right now our plan, because of the constraints of the property, is to do a warehouse type of, or a general light industrial type of use. And with that, there was one thing I wanted to comment on so there are no conflicts that we see I know they mentioned a couple times that there's, in the staff's opinion, the 300-foot buffer along the Truckee River conflicts with the stated purpose of the Washoe County 110, 22210 above, but not staff or planning manager brought that issue up to us all along the way for a year until just a couple weeks ago. So we don't feel like that's an issue. And it doesn't matter, again, whether we're building industrial or commercial or residential. The parking lot is the parking lot. It doesn't matter what it's zoned. It's a parking lot. And whether it's for a truck or a car, you still have the potential of drainage issues into the Truckee River. Obviously, our development will constrain that, right? And make sure that nothing goes into the Truckee River, because that's part of the staff's responsibility to make sure we don't build or develop anything that would affect the Truckee River in any way. And we're very conscientious of that. I've been building for 45 years. And one other thing, on page 22 in your report, it says that there's a conflict because we're not residential. Well, it's not residential now. It's general rural now. It's not residential. But in the staff report, it commented on, let me just read it here. The proposed industrial land use is a more intense use compared to the existing residential land use. Well, first of all, I don't believe will be more intense than residential. The traffic study that we already did verified that. But there is no residential use on the property right now, existing land use. So I just wanted to clarify that if there was a question on that. And I'm here for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, let's open up public comment. Do we have any public comment?
In chambers, I have Will Adler, followed by Paul Scott.
Please state your name for the record. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Will Adler. I'm here as a representative of Story County. We would like to state publicly and for the record that we do not oppose development of this property. Rather, we proposed a different route for development of this property. As staff has identified, and we have publicly stated many times through our January letter and our letter in April, hopefully you guys have those before you, we don't feel that industrial use of this land is consistent with the current use of the area. Yes, Washoe County ends and Story County begins right there at the river line, but really if you look at the use of that road today, and Canyon Road, if you haven't driven out there, you probably should. It's a hard, like 90-degree turn on a degraded road today, then turn to 90 degrees again to go across the bridge into Rainbow Bend community. That community does have over 500 residents in it today. It has a very densely packed sort of residential spot there just because, again, it's just over the river and it's the only land we have in Story County. We did propose to the applicant to loop them into the Story County bubble there. And we've actually changed the master plan of Story County to add additional density to residential properties. We do feel like that would be a profitable use and a appropriate use of that land. But today, putting an industrial zone there actually just sort of cuts off the only actual access to Highway 80 and the actual residential out road from the Rainbow Bend community to the rest of Nevada, basically. There is no other way out other than the long route around. And addressing that route, Story County themselves actually paid to extend the Mustang exit and improve that one because that prevented Waste Management from using the Lockwood community for inappropriate uses, as we saw, industrial routes for the trash dump there, that it used to have to go past Lockwood. So we did actually put forward our own dollars to make sure that community was insulated from industrial uses. As the applicant stated, the land was previously used for general commercial uses, not industrial. There was a large flood case where we had, once in a 100-year event that happens every 25 years nowadays, right? That flooded that area. That created a whole issue in that park where the land just to the west of that is created into a parkland now as sort of a flood sponge and as an active identifying of not appropriate use for this land because it is right in that bend of the river where if it gets active, it will flood again. But addressing the Washoe County Master Plan and the One Truckee Plan that we do sort of use continually across all the counties and for the whole Truckee, having industrial aprons is just a big, concrete and asphalt apron, we'll have a lot of runoff, and that will have additional impacts compared to a densely populated residential property like we have in Lockwood. So we'd like you to look at our letter, look at our proposals, and we'd like to even talk to the applicant about maybe joining Story County and the Canyon GID and sort of that water solution and that sewer solution, because that might be easier overall than doing something through Washoe County anyways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, in chambers, I have Paul Scott.
Good evening. My name is Paul Scott. I am probably I am the only other Washoe County resident down there in Lockwood. I do know this property from when the Wilsons lived there, back all the way in the early 90s is when they moved out and the property became vacated. I do support this land being developed, although hopefully the light industrial uses would fit in with the more rural neighborhood. But I'd also like to bring your attention to the dilapidated county road. Lockwood Drive hasn't been resurfaced or anything down there in 30 years. And so if we're going to be making this area more business friendly for Washoe County residents, then please consider also making the roads friendly. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
We have one last public comment in chambers. Lastly, in chambers, I have Mitch Androlini.
Hello, Mitch Andrini. I'm the manager of Canyon General Improvement District in Story County. I am not the spokesperson for them. They were run by an elected official board, and we have one member in the audience. Born in Reno in 1959, so I'm proud of that. But I have to go along with Story County, their representative. The issue with that, there's one entrance into that neighborhood. There's 1,500 population there. If you've ever taken the Lockwood ramp, it's a steep drop into Lockwood. In the winter, it causes issues. They would have to modify that somehow to make an easement into their property to put any development in there. Also, whenever there's an issue on 80 with a wreck or whatever, what happens to our neighborhood is they start cutting through Canyon Way, 18-wheelers, the whole bit, start traipsing through the neighborhood. They've broken fire hydrants and caused all kinds of issues. So we're not sure that this would be the best fit there. Also, I'm not aware of any utilities on that side. They had mentioned they were going to put an application into Tumwa. I'm not sure how close they are. That river corridor is very narrow from that industrial area where FedEx is located, but that's just a concern of residents. Unfortunately, your meeting corresponded with, we have National Night Out in Lockwood tonight, and it's the same time as the meeting, so unfortunately, a few of the residents couldn't attend the meeting, but that's a lot of their concerns there. They want to kind of remain rural. When Mr. Evans here pointed out that park area is right across the street, it's really an improvement to the neighborhood. It was a development of trailers at one time, but it's for the collective floodplain, and it's also called the Lockwood Trailhead Park. So it's really a nice addition here. I'm not sure how they could pull it off with industrial coming in on down there, but also we're concerned with the Truckee River and what flows into it, because we're dealing with water issues in Lockwood, which we're addressing, and it's going to be several million to mitigate those. And that's just some of our concerns. So I appreciate the esteemed commissioners for letting us be here, and thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I do not see any further public comments in chambers. I do have one hand raised on Zoom. Lisa, please unmute and state your first and last name for the record, please.
My name is Lisa Holloman. I am a Story County resident. I live in Rainbow Bend. My number one concern is that this developer, landowner, has shown a lot of disregard for Story County, and yet it would be surrounded by Story County. When they first proposed this, they said they sent out 130 mailers. There are 402 residences in Rainbow Bend, which is the closest community. We're literally across the river, nothing in between us. And yet only 6 Rainbow Bend residences got notice. Fortunately, those 6 notified most of the others. Not timely, though. We had a couple days notice. You mentioned the 300-foot setback can be used as parking. Currently, Rainbow Bend has a park located along the river and many residences along the river, and we look out on the river. We have crews that clean up that river 3 times a year to keep it aesthetically beautiful. You're telling me that there's going to be a parking lot of trucks and industrial, and because it is rural, there are no street lights right now, which means you're going to have to light up the parking lot. So instead of a beautiful evening out in the rural country, we will be looking at a lighted industrial center. I'm familiar with that land. I've worked that land a lot as far as with wild horses, we've actually graded that land because trucks use it sometimes to make a turnaround when the freeway's shut down, which is frequently. That exit road, Canyon Way, is totally unsafe for anything over a car size. Even the few trucks that we do get there, we have difficulty. And it's a requirement that anybody coming down the ramp has to stop for anybody coming up. Now, you increase that traffic, and I don't know what kind of mess you're going to have at the top of the overpass there. So I would like to see these developers be more concerned about the residents in Story County. And I highly encourage Washoe County, please don't approve this carte blanche yet. Let's get some more study on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment?
I have no further public comment in chambers, no more hands raised on Zoom.
All right, with that, we'll bring it back to the board for questions. Do we have any questions of the developer or Tim, the planner? You guys don't have any questions. I got a question for Tim. Hey, Tim, with this industrial zoning change, would that allow for a storage type yard with that?
Excuse me, Tim Evans, planner. So as far as the industrial zoning goes, it would be in that type of use, so storage or any other warehousing, things like that. Those types of uses would be allowed in that industrial zoning.
Okay, yeah, that was my only question. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yes. Can't keep my mouth shut tonight. I just have a question on this 300-foot floodplain. The regulations say you're not supposed to build anything there. Is that correct?
Tim Evans, planner, so yes, correct. And within that 300-foot distance,
And
there's no
if we
structures.
went ahead and violated that, this goes to council, what kind of liability is the county under if that floodplain was used by nature? And you had structures there and they got wiped out or destroyed or what have you? Is the county liable because we allowed building there?
Jen Gustafson for the record. That would be very factually based, and there's no way for me to answer directly that kind of a speculative question. The 300 feet, it's my understanding that our code prohibits any structure to be built within 300 feet of the center line of the Truckee River. So in theory, during the building permit process, Washoe County would not approve any structures being built within that 300 feet of the center line, period.
Okay, thank you. So then what's the point? Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Nelson, just a follow-up question on that. So no structures, no buildings, but they could build the parking lot.
Tim Evans, planner, so yes, exactly. So within that 300-foot distance, there are no structures allowed, but there's nothing that specifically states in that code section that a parking lot or parking area could not be placed there.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim, this is Rob again. Can they put a fence up around that area in that 300 foot?
So if that comes down to the definition of structure, so in relation to that, if the actual if a building permit was required for a fence, then it wouldn't be allowed. So.
Yeah, and if I could just piggyback on that, no, a fence is not considered a structure. A structure is defined in our code as a building with a roof and at least three walls, I believe. So a fence is not a structure. Technically, it could be allowed.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I'm envisioning for this property, is like a little storage yard. But I don't know what the plans are. That was just my opinion. Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Do we have any discussion on it? Okay, if we don't have any discussion, then I'll open it up for a motion. Let's do individual motions on this, please.
No, ma'am, public comments over.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, we're done with public comment now.
Go ahead, Rob.
I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission deny Master Plan Amendment Case Number WMPA 24-0002, being unable to make at least 3 of the 5 required findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.820.15 parentheses D.
Okay, do I have a second for the denial?
Commissioner Nelson will second.
Chair Pierce.
Yes.
This is Jen Gustafson for the record. So in a master plan amendment and regulatory zone amendment, if you're making a denial, you need to state which findings you cannot make for the record.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation as to give your, your reasoning and state which of the findings 1 through 5 you could not make as part of your motion.
Okay, Mrs. Kennedy, we'll bring it back. to
27?
You want me to do that too?
No, I'll find it.
It's on page 27 of the staff
Okay.
report.
Okay. Consistency, let's see. First one, consistency with master plan. The proposed amendment is in substantial compliance with the policies and actions programs in the master plan. Do I have to?
So what was
Read
your?
the ones that are not compliant, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Correct.
You cannot
Okay.
make these, what we're asking for, Commissioner Kennedy, are the findings that you feel cannot be made.
Okay. Number 2, compatible land uses. The proposed amendment will provide for land uses compatible with existing or planned adjacent land uses and will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare. Three, response to changed conditions. The proposed amendment responds to changed conditions or further studies that have occurred since the plan was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, and the required amendment represents a more desirable utilization of land. 4, availability of facilities. There are or are planned to be adequate transportation, recreation, utility, and other facilities to accommodate the uses and densities permitted by the proposed master plan designation. Did I do it?
So those are, go ahead.
Those are the 3 it doesn't meet.
It doesn't mean.
I need 4?
No, you listed 4.
Then I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so, and then on the second, Kate, I think that was you, right?
Correct.
What, which 3 did you not, or which one did you not find?
So I cannot find finding number 1, number 3, number 4, or number 5.
4 or 5, okay. All right, do we need to do a roll call vote on this, legal?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote on this. So Commissioner Kennedy says she can't find 2, 3, 4, right? Am I correct on that?
Yes.
And
I think she
And
listed
1.
1 through 4.
1 through 4.
1 through 4, all the way through 4. Okay.
Mhm.
And then Kate listed hers. And she's a denial. And then so in regards to the denial, if anybody has a denial, say yay, and then please state your findings for the denial.
Yay.
Let's do a roll call where we're going to call each of the commissioners' names.
Yeah, right.
Michael Flick.
Okay.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
You cannot find, right?
Right.
Okay. Who else?
Commissioner Kennedy and Nelson have already voted and listed their findings. Commissioner Barnes.
Yes, I cannot find 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Could you restate that? Your mic was off.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it.
So you're, Commissioner Barnes, you're voting yay for denial?
Yeah, voting for denial. I cannot find 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. And this is Commissioner Pierce. I cannot find 1 through 4 either. So,
Okay, we also have Commissioner Owens.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm voting for a denial as well on 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Okay. So it sounds like the denial was, well, the motion was denied, so that part did not pass. The master plan amendment motion did not pass. So now we will move on to the regulatory zone amendment. Would somebody like to make a motion on that?
Commissioner Nelson, I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Planning Commission deny regulatory zone amendment case number WRZA 24-0002, being unable to make all the required findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.821.15 parent D. Specifically, I cannot find finding number 1, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll do
We
a
have
roll
a
call vote. Commissioner
Yeah.
Flick?
We need a second first.
Oh, excuse me.
Kennedy
Excuse
will
me.
second.
Okay.
Jumping the gun, excuse me.
That's okay. That's all right. So, Commissioner Kennedy, can you
Yes, and I find 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, all right, go ahead with your roll call count. Roman, go ahead.
Okay, so Commissioner Flick? Are you going to vote yea for denial or nay?
Yea for denial. 1, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, we've done Commissioner Kennedy and Nelson. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes, yea for denial, and cannot find 1, 3, 4, and 5.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't think my microphone works. But I said yea for denial.
It's on now, so go ahead, speak into the microphone.
Yea for denial, and I cannot find 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you. Commissioner Owens?
I also vote yea for denial on 1, 3, 4, and 5 as well.
Commissioner
Okay.
Pierce?
Yeah, I'm voting for a denial also. It's 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have a denial of the motion, the regulatory zone amendment motion. So that is a denial also. So both motions have been denied on this one. Mr. Lloyd, would you please read the appeal procedure?
Most decisions rendered by the Planning Commission are appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. If you disagree with the decision of the Planning Commission and qualify as an aggrieved person or party, you may appeal in writing within 10 calendar days from the date that the decision being appealed is reduced to writing, filed with the Secretary of the Planning Commission, and mailed to the original applicant in the proceeding being appealed in accordance with Washoe County Code. Please call the planning staff immediately at 328-3610 for information on the appeal procedure and the application fee.
All right, thank you. That brings us on to item number 10. If I'm correct, that's chair and commission items. Anybody have any future agenda items they would like to request or see? Okay, we'll move on to 10B, requests for information from staff. Do we have any thing from staff? All right, move on to 11, director and legal counsel items, report on previous commissioner items. Do we have any report?
Yeah, I have a few things to report on. At the July 16th County Commission meeting, the first reading for the grading code was read into record. Same with those were the code amendments to amend Article 438 grading, as well as the amendments to the short-term rental, that's Article 319. Both have their first readings. The grading code will be heard again for second reading at the August 20th BCC meeting, and the STR second reading will be heard at the September 10th BCC meeting. Additionally, at the July 16th, the Housing Package 2.0 second reading was approved, and so now that has become official. We are anticipating next rounds of housing package to come to the Planning Commission at the September meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is that 2.5 or 2.0?
2.0 was adopted.
Okay.
Now we're gearing up for 2.5. At least the first portion of that will be heard by the Planning Commission tentatively at the September hearing.
Wonderful. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Any reports from legal? Or any information?
Nothing from me tonight, thank you.
All right, let's open up public comment. Let's have we have any general public comment?
I do have a general public comment.
Okay, go ahead.
She's making her way down. She's almost there.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Peggy France, and I live out in Rainbow Bend. And I want to just tell you all, thank you very, very much.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I have no further public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, with that, we are adjourned at 8:09. Thank you, everybody.